guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, it's gonna be another journal flip through, and this one is my movies and TV show journal. Originally this was supposed to be just my 2021 my 2021 movie and TV show journal, but as you can see, it's not much fill and the year's almost over, so I'm just gonna use this overall as my movies, TV shows, so stuff I've watched, stuff I've loved, or just anything really that has to do with cinema. So first we have my movies and TV. Like I said, this was the original plan for this journal. Then we have TV shows to watch: The Flight Attendant, I Hate Susie, Doom Patrol, Titans. I've watched a little bit of Doom Patrol, same with Titans. I watched a little bit of all of these, but I haven't finished them. And then we have The Boys in the Band. I watched a little bit of that, didn't finish it. Ready or Not, actually watched this, loved it. Super intelligent. Not watched this yet. And we have my first spread, which is one of my personal favorites, and that's Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I just wrote a little thing where I first saw this in the theater. It's so funny to think about this. I remember seeing this in the theater and was memorized not only by the soundtrack, but also like the video game meets a movie. I just thought that was awesome. And I didn't know at the time, but it is a comic book series. I've read the comic book series. It's great. I love it. You should go check it out. And like all these characters are fantastic. Chris Evans is in it. He plays one of the 7 evil exes. Brie Larson, aka Miss Marvel, and I love the song Hello Again, Friend of a Friend, I Knew You When. Such a great song. Next we have one of my favorite shows, and that is Veronica Mars. If you don't know what Veronica Mars is, it is a TV show that was in the early 2000s starring Miss Kirsten Bell, and then it got canceled, but then in 2019 it got renewed by Hulu. I was so excited. I love the movie that they made years later along with the TV show. So basically it's like a edgier Nancy Drew. We have Veronica Mars, who is a PI in high school. So her dad, Keith Mars, used to be a sheriff, and then during a big crime which involved her best friend at the time got murdered, and her father pointed at the wrong man, and then the whole town started hating the Mars family, and that's Veronica became very isolated, and this is just follows her. First season follows her trying to find out who murdered her friends. It's very Nancy Drew on steroids, and I love it. And I love these two as a couple. Great, from enemies, no, to friends, to enemies, to lovers, back to enemies, back to friends, back to lovers relationship. Yes, they go back and forth so much. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And then one of my all-time favorites, you can't really see because of the lighting, but this is Back to the Future. Back to the Future, classic 80s film. I've been watching this since I was a little girl. This was my very first VHS tape. Fun fact, I did not know it was a trilogy until years later because I only had the one on VHS. But I gotta get back in time. And then, psych. This is my ringtone. This theme song is my ringtone, so I know this whole theme song by heart. If you haven't seen Psych, what are you doing with your life? It's a great show. It's basically about this guy named Sean Spencer, and he pretends to be a psychic. And him and his best friend Burton Guster decide to become detectives, and they help the local PD with cases that are unsolvable. And the reason why Sean pretends he's psychic is because he was raised by his father, who is a cop, to be a detective. Obviously, he did not go that route like his father wanted, but he still had all the skills that a great detective would need, and he uses it as becoming psychic. And they get in wacky adventures, wacky crimes. It's a great time, and their theme song, brilliant. I know, you know, that I'm not telling the truth. Great theme song. Go check it out. It's on, I think it's on Peacock, if you want to know. Then we have a classic starring, what's her name? Elton Page now, called Whip It, and it's actually directed by Drew Barrymore right here. This was a movie that I watched religiously growing up. Came out in 2009, and I think I always, anytime it was on TV, I sat down and watched it no matter what. Like, I just loved this movie just because it's anything he was in, like, I watched. Still, I'll watch it. Like, if this actor's in there, I will watch it. And this, with the roller derby and the kick-ass girls, it was so much fun. So if you don't know, Whip It is about a girl named Liz who lives in a very small town in Texas, and she hates it. Her mother makes her compete in beauty pageants, which she hates. She only has one best friend, and she can't wait to go to college. But one night, her and her best friend go to a roller derby. They have a blast. And Liz was like, I like you guys. You guys are my heroes. And they say, put on the skates, be your own hero. So Liz decides to try out. And what do you know? She has a knack for it. And it's just her balancing her life in her small town where she's a nobody to this group of these rad girls, where she becomes Babe Ruthless. It's a great coming of age story. And then here is what I watched in January. I watched Cobra Kai season 3. Great. Ready or Not. Oh, this is such a good movie. Started watching The Big Bang Theory. K&D, The Kids Next Door. If you know, you know. Started watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Great show. Just weird, but funny weird. Revenge of the Nerds, Soul, Catch Me If You Can, a very underrated Leonardo DiCaprio movie. If you ask me, if you haven't seen this, go check this out. This movie's 17 again, and then Outlander. Then we have, Freaks and Geek. I started a rewatch of Freaks and Geeks around this time, and this is a cult classic, if you will. It came out in 1999, so it's pretty old, but it only lasted one season, sadly, but the show is just so good. It's one of those shows where if it was on today, it would have been a hit, but back then, this show, it's by that director Apatow, who did Knocked Up, like all the Seth Rogen and James Franco's guys, and Jason Segel's in here too. So Jason Segel, Lydia Carmadello, you probably know her from Scooby-Doo. She plays Velma. Also, she plays Clint Barton's wife in Hawkeye and the MCU. If you didn't know, that's her. And their theme song is A Bad Reputation by Joan Jett, and that was a great theme song. A lot of these, like, TV shows and movies I like usually have a great soundtrack. If it has a good soundtrack, I'm a fan. Next, we have New York Minute, starring Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. This is a childhood favorite of mine. Again, this was on VHS growing up. And fun fact, I actually named my dog Roxy after this girl, because I think my dad was asking me, and I was watching this movie at the time, and I was like, ooh, Roxy, I like that name. It's about two girls who one day decide to play hooky, and they're in New York, and it's very wacky adventures. They're running from the truant's cops. Roxy's trying to get a record deal. Jane has a very important speech to get to a scholarship to the college of her dreams, and just wacky hijinks. It's a great Olsen twin movie. And then we have February. I watched a lot in February. So School of Rock, Impractical Jokers, the movie. Space Trooper. This was a Japanese film on Netflix. It was great. Liked it. Princess Diaries, Young and Hungry, the Lizzie McGuire movie. WandaVision, iCarly, Jane, Silent Bob Strike Back, New York Minute, The Truman Show, Finding a Home. This was a really good film that I was surprised liking, because it was just a random Netflix movie, but it was really a cool adventure. It was like a new version of the Goonies. The Impractical Jokers, Ready Player One, Earth Girls Are Easy. This is an early Jim Carrey movie, and Gina Davis. It was just so bizarre, but another rewatch of How Much Money. How I Met Your Mother, Money Talks, The Green Hornets, and then we have more. Coach Carter, The Founder, which is basically how McDonald's was founded / stolen. The Dark Knight Rises, Cheaper by the Dozen. I watched a couple episodes of Game of Thrones. Dead Poet Society, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Max Keeble, Big Move, If You Know, You Know. Mad Money, such a fun movie. Saving Silverman, Iron Man 2, Thor, Avengers, Jake Long, American Dragon, Thor The Dark World, 101, Iron Man 3. And then we have my Quentin Tarantino films to watch. So in the year 2021, I really started to get into film more. I started listening to a podcast called Raiders of the Lost Podcast. I'll leave them linked below because they are an amazing podcast. They recommend such great movies. I highly recommend checking them out if you want to get more into movies. So I decided to try to watch all Quentin Tarantino's films. I've watched Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, which I think is one of my favorites because it was just so funny. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, really good. Inglourious Basterds. The only ones I have not watched are Death Proof, Kill Bill Volume 2, Reservoir Dog. Oh no, I've seen that one. Jackie Brown, and The Maleficent 8. And I want to really see Jackie Brown just because my name's Jackie. So then we have How I Met Your Mother spread. How I Met Your Mother is one of those shows you either love it or you don't. There's really no in between. Just the character dynamics of these friendships and what they tell you about love, relationships, finding the one. Oh, it's so good. And their music, let's go to the mall. One of my favorite quotes from this whole show as a whole will have to be when Stella, one of Ted's fiancés, I believe, tells him she's coming, and she's coming as fast as she can. I just love that quote so much. This is Blank Movies to Watch February. Like I said, I kind of March, Lord of the Rings, Euro Trip, and 21. This has not been filled out yet. Cruel Summer, which was a Hulu original. This was such a good. So what I really liked of how they shot they shot it through 3 different summers. So yeah, it went through 3 different summers, and you have so many questions about every scene you see because it jumps from the summer of 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and these 2 girls, one girl goes missing of the summer in the 90s. One summer she's there, one summer she's kidnapped, and then the summer after she's found. And this girl kind of basically takes her life into sorts because when the main girl goes missing during that first summer, the next summer the girl who wanted to be like her is her. And then the summer after she's found, everyone in town hates that girl for reasons, and you just have to piece together everything. I hope Cruel Summer's getting season 2 with how the show ended, but I don't know. Then we have a classic, Rick and Morty. I started watching season 5 of Rick and Morty. This show, it took me a while to watch this show. And the best way someone described it to me, I don't know who, but someone described it as Back to the Future on crack. And it worked so well. If you have not seen Rick and Morty, what are you doing with your life? I mean, Rick and Morty. It's now I have a spread for WandaVision. What can I say about WandaVision? It really was everywhere during the early months of this year. Just you couldn't go anywhere without seeing some type of WandaVision. Darcy is my favorite next to Agatha Harkness, Ralph Boner, and Wanda. Just because I loved her in Thor. And I love this actress, that's why. I loved her in 2 Broke Girls. And when I saw her in Thor, I'm like, yeah, give her more comedy. She's great at comedy. Give her, and you will have a great character in the MCU. Next, we have August. I watched season 7 of The Flash. Not my favorite. The Flash has really been sucking lately. I don't know. It just has been. Started watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia again. May Japan. Snowden. This was my first time watching Snowden. I love true story movies. They're great. The Lizzie McGuire movie, I watched it again. Oh, I watched The Suicide Squad. The movie was great. The soundtrack, girl boss. This show should have got a season 2. It was too good not to get season 2. We have Roswell, which is a old WB show that I just like to watch randomly because it just, I just like it. It's about aliens in Roswell, New Mexico. Then we have The Best of Enemies, which is a true story about these two. The guy is a KKK leader, and another is a civil rights activist. And during the summer, they have to work together to save their community, to save the local schools, and they form a long-time friendship. Then we have Fearing the Lasting Loathing in Vegas, starring Johnny Depp. I might have to rewatch this because I remember nothing of this movie. It was just so weird. Shark Tale. This is a childhood movie that I loved. As an adult, I don't feel the same way. Mallrats. Kevin Smith's movies are just funny. I watched a lot of them when I was in high school, and I still love them to this day. Then, as you can tell, I got Lily. The Kissing Booth 3. Garbage. The Kissing Booth was decent enough, and then they made 2 horrible sequels to it. Mr. Iglesias, hilarious. Gabriel Iglesias is hilarious. Then we have Legally Blonde. I'm not going to go too much in because this is a classic. Every time I watch this, she just gets me in the mood to do something productive, like go to the gym. Maybe I can go to Harvard, I feel like every little girl, when we watch this, we're like, we can go to Harvard too, And then Bridget Jones's Diary. This is where my obsession for him, Colin Firth, first started because of seeing him. Mr. Darcy. And then we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loved it. Loved that we got more Bucky. He's been in the MCU for so long, and we finally got more content from him. Same with Sam, Sharon Carter, and he makes everyone hate him. John Walker. He does being hated so well, so kudos to him. And then we have what I watched in October. I watched Venom, Let There Be Carnage, great movie. Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds was amazing. Halloween Kills was great. We have Ugly Betty. Me and my husband actually binge watched the show. It was fun. And then Night Teeth, which was a Netflix scary movie, which was a good watch. Not my favorite, but it was decent. We have season 3 of You. And season 1 and 2 are better. Season 3 kind of dragged. I watched Jennifer's Body, great. And then I started rewatching The Vampire Diaries because why not? It was good. And now we have Catch Me If You Can, which again is an underrated Leonardo DiCaprio movie. If you have not seen this, where have you been? It's based off a true story, which just amazes me. Frank Abagnale Jr. was a famous con man in the 60s and 70s. He pretended to be a pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer. And the FBI chased him for years. He was doing fraud checks, fraud everything, all at the age of 18 years old. So yeah, he was doing all these from when he ran away from home at 14 all the way until they caught him until he was 19. Oh, it's so good. Him and Tom Hanks, Leonardo and Tom Hanks did amazing in this movie. Then we have The New Guy. I feel like a lot of people have not heard of this movie, which just breaks my heart. This is probably not an appropriate movie for me to watch as a kid. I watched this when I was 4. This is a childhood movie, even though it's not supposed to be. So it's about this guy named Dizzy, who is kind of a loser at his school, and he does something that puts him into jail for a night, where he meets Eddie's Griffin character, And Dizzy's complaining about how he's never going back to high school again. He got humiliated, like he hates it. Everyone treats him like shit. He doesn't want to go back. And Eddie Griffin's like, oh, saying how he used to be the clown of his last prison. So he got kicked out and sent to a new prison where you can basically change your attitude, change your look. So that's when Dizzy gets the idea to get expelled from his high school, transferred to a new school to be the new guy, and Eddie Griffin and a bunch of prisoners help him be Mr. Cool. It's just so funny and very raunchy 2000s movie. Then we have my newest spread, which is the Vampire Diaries ranking, where I'm just ranking all the Vampire Diaries seasons from like what seasons I love compared to what seasons I hate. But yeah, so that's it for this journaling video. I hope you guys enjoy. Yeah. So yeah, there's so much for me to do, as you can tell. Like, I have a lot of spreads to do. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Okay, bye.